aspirations of being in a successful rock and roll band, and yet at the same time writing about the lack of success of my own contemporaries. Not just aware of, I mean painfully aware of, literally the people on the same street as I grew up are having to leave Ireland and go to America to find jobs. Almost the rise of U2 is only equaled by the fall of our own contemporaries.
Another Irish group, U2, has in recent times had an immense impact through their music in the United States, bringing to that great country, a reflection of the positive and generous spirit and mood of the younger generation here. According to the New York Times, U2's performance in the U.S. has caused the Democratic Party, in its approach to the next presidential election, to reevaluate its understanding of how young people in America think and feel. What other country but Ireland could have produced such an influential phenomenon in the United States?
In the 60s, Dublin was a very small, pretty European city. And due to corruption and mismanagement and appalling planning, they removed people from the heart of the city out to these appalling, to me, ghettos out in the suburbs, places like Neilstown, places like that. There's a couple of tower blocks there that are notorious, Ballymun, amongst others. And when they removed the heart of the city, they took its soul with it. And so all the business, classic stuff, all the businesses around sort of folding, and it became a wasteland. And the city itself became destroyed at the hands of the city management.
Must find a way to get out of here, or I'll pull this whole place down. I'll find some way to get out of here. I'll turn this world around. I'll burst like a fountain. I'll try hard, take motion. Go further than an ocean. I can't swim all that way. Get away.
If you're from Ballymun, there's no chance really. Like if there's someone from Blackrock and you went for the same interview as you know, if you're from Ballymun, he has a far better chance of getting it, because Ballymun's name, it has a name for itself.
It's crap. You feel it inside. You know, not all of us are all into drugs then. And we feel like we are when we're told we're from Ballymun. You feel different than what you are. You feel like you're one of them.
Future now, I see it as the band, being in the band, with unemployment as it is now at the moment. It's the only way out is the band, really.
We're only starting off, and we're only a number in this country. You two have a name.
Then there was the drug thing. I don't know why it should be so epidemic in Dublin, but it is far worse than in London in relative terms.
I'll find some way to get out of here. And I'll turn this world around.
Somebody gave it to me one time, and you know, I was just that stoned. Somebody put it in my arm, you know, and I got something right to the head, and I thought I was just gonna die, you know. I didn't see any sort of a life for myself at the time, you know. It was the only thing that was exciting to me. There was nothing worth doing that was exciting, you know. You think about all the other kids and that's coming up, you know. Like, there's nothing for them, you know. When they're gonna grow up, they're gonna go through all the same things. Some will go on to be probably locked up for life. Some will just be in and out of prison all the time, you know. I've seen them stoned and I've seen them drunk, and when they're drunk and they're stoned, they're very violent, you know, because that brings out the anger in them.
If over half the country is under 25 or whatever the statistics are, you're looking at a potentially vicious explosive situation where you have classic African conditions like urbanization from a countryside that can no longer support its people, where you're looking at a city that can't live up to the expectations of the new immigrants, when you're looking at no jobs for those who have got the gumption to go out and try doing things themselves, or for those who just look for a regular job, or for university graduates, then you have mass emigration again, and that destroys the country.
It's very hard to go to America by yourself. I'd probably be bawling my eyes out, but I'll give it my best shot and see how it goes. But I have a boyfriend who doesn't want me to go, and my relatives generally don't want me to go. But I've decided that I have to go because there's no other option. How are you feeling today? Good. So? My family don't actually realise how bad the situation is. And my father keeps saying to me, you know, oh, something will turn up. You'll get a job somewhere in a nursing home somewhere. But I mean, the hospitals all around Ireland, not just Dublin, all around Ireland, they're letting their own staff go. And they're not even entertaining letters for vacancies for anything at all, in any section.
Is your boyfriend listening to you?
I don't think it's really hit him yet. He doesn't think I'll go when it comes to the crunch, but I will. I have to.
So she woke up from where she was, lying still, said I've gotta do something about where I'm going. Step on a steam train, step out of the driving rain, baby. Run from the darkness in the night, yeah. Singing hard, oh la la la, yeah. Oh la la la, yeah. Oh la la la, oh la la la. Sweet the sin, but bitter the taste in my mouth. I see 7 towers, but I only see one way out. You gotta cry without weeping, talk without speaking, scream without raising your voice. You know I took the poison on the poison stream. Then I floated out of here, singing, ah, la, 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 yeah. red on the black belly of cloud in the rain. In through a doorway, she brings me white gold and pearls stolen from the sea. She is raging, she is raging, and a storm blows up in her eyes. She will suffer the needle chill. She's running to stay still.
It'd be very easy for me to talk about Ireland like it's a broken place. The spirit is broken. The spirit is not broken.
An ordinary kid in the street, right? He may think all these things, but nobody's ever going to listen to him or take any attention of him. Whereas a rock group, they've got the public waiting to hear what they're going to say.
People say that, you know, we're very proud that you're Irish, but I'm very proud to be Irish.
What they can achieve is they can spread their message, spread what they think through more people than any politician could, because they're probably more listened to than anybody around the world.
I do see a future, but I think it's worth fighting for, and that's all that's the anger in our music. I think it's the right kind of anger. It's not to tear down, it's to build up.
If you can't change anything, well then it's never going to change. It has to change somehow. It's people like us, the young people, who have to listen. If they give it a chance and people do get ready to change, well then things will happen, things will get better. It has to.
I think there's nothing more boring than complaining all the time. I mean, that was one thing I thought about the punk movement. It was great, but it was as if it was enough to just stand around and say how bad everything was. And I always thought, well, okay, things are bad, but, you know, where's the light at the end of the tunnel?
Throw this lifeless life
Chant for me is a song that I use to wake myself up to see the world around me and what was going on in the world around me. I feel a part of a generation that is waking up. And I'm not saying, look, I'm awake. All you people are just, walking and talking in your sleep. I believe I'm part of a generation that's waking up. Rock and roll music is the soundtrack to change. It is at its most exciting, I think.
The imagination that is evident in Ireland, evident everywhere you go, the imagination that's evident in U2's music, the imagination that's evident in the audience at U2, where they can lose themselves and imagine this thing, must be applied to the problems of the country. And if that helps to change it, then good.
Some of the lyrics in a U2 song do relate to the way they're feeling. There's insecurity, but I think most people have some kind of a hope. It's just there's very little rock and roll that deals in that.
Even though things are very bad at the moment, I think they still just have that element of hope that it will get better.
I feel proud of how far I come. I could be still down in the. I know I'm the Labour. Now I'm on the Labour and I'm not working, but I'm not on the gutter anymore. With people who loves me and respects me.
Mainly the good things you have to make the good things happen yourself. If you don't, it's going to be bad all the time.
Jim, I gotta tell you a story. I was up in Donegal. I drove over the border by mistake, and I got pulled into the side of the road, and this guy shone lights into the car, and the guy, I heard this sort of British accent, sort of quite a well-to-do accent, and he says, "Turn off your lights! Turn off your lights!" So I didn't know what to do, so I just turned on my lights, and he walked up to the car, and he walked up to the car, and he said, "Good Lord, it's Bono." "Good Lord, it's Bono," he said. And with that, about 40 guys came out of the forest, you know, with like flower pots on their heads and everything, asking me for my autograph. I thought it was an amusing inconvenience. My mother was a Protestant, my father was a Catholic, and I was brought up almost in both churches. I mean, my early background was in a Church of Ireland. But right now, I mean, I feel equally at home or equally not at home in both camps.
This bus, people, Protestant, Catholic, people who may care more than others about certain issues, but we're still all on the same bus going to see the same band.
They want to sort of do their bits to bring the two communities together. They've realised the impact they can have on young people.
On one level, you know, I have no right to comment about the troubles in the north of Ireland because I come from the safety of the south, but at the same time, I'm an Irishman and I live in Ireland and I believe in the country north and south, so, you know, I'm literally, you know, torn in two about it myself.
Protestant Catholics should live together, all right. But like, if you walk into a Protestant area, like, there's no way you're gonna walk out without getting a beating or whatever.
The thing is, you're brought up. If you're in a Protestant society, you're brought up to hate Catholics. If you're in a Catholic society, you're brought up to hate Protestants. That's not the way it should
really,
be.
There's no difference. If you look at it that way.
Yeah.
As he says, a lot of journalists go out to...
They go out to aggravate people.
They sort of look, aggravate. They're out to aggravate Catholics and Protestants, you know. I mean, we're sitting in the same bus here together, and they want...
We're getting full together.
Yeah. we're having a great time here.
When I think of peace, I think of hippies with flowers in their hairs and everything, but I think you can be aggressive. You can be an aggressive pacifist, and I suppose in U2, we consider ourselves aggressive pacifists.
It's almost like the pop idols, the rock idols are gods in a way, and they're listening, and like U2, a lot of people follow what they say as sort of God, if you like. But I mean, it's rock music and something that could act as spiritual to the young people today. Certainly more, I think, than the church does. Because in Ireland, the church has brought nothing but divide. So why not look to something different to bring us together?
Come on, a lot of people who are religious don't have any belief. Let's not be naive about that. There's a hell of a lot of people who see religion as some kind of social thing. You know, or in the case of certain parts of the world, Northern Ireland included, it's a racist thing, and it's a chance to be on one side or the other side.
If you read back through the early days, the sacrifices that the people of Ireland in their poverty and hardship made to set up this missionary movement. And the symbol of this, even today, I suppose we could say, in lieu of the day that's in it, the symbol of this spirit still carrying on in the Irish people is the U2 with their messages as they travel the world, preaching a message of peace, not war, just as we preach a message of peace, not war. This is Ireland.
I think Bono and the whole band are so charismatic, you know, that they touch you and they lift you up and they inspire you. I think there's an awful lot of good in that sort of spirituality because it brings people towards a knowledge of the spiritual life and deeper, higher ideals that there's more to life than 9-to-5 jobs and what make ends meet. There's a deeper yearning in everybody for a spirit, something in the spirit, you know, and that I think that is brilliant. And whether they don't adhere to organized religion or not, at least that they are awakening in people to that need within themselves.
People think because I am attracted to people like Gandhi or the Reverend Martin Luther King, or even my faith, my belief in Christ, that I, therefore, am some sort of hero or man of God or peacemaker. One of the reasons I'm actually one of the reasons I'm attracted to these people is because I'm the very person who would not turn the other cheek, and I grew up with a violence in me, and it's still in me, and I despise it. somebody just on the last tour of the United States threw up the tricolour, the green, white and orange Irish flag. And I found myself almost kind of in a rage. And I just said, I picked up one and I said, what, do you see this flag? You see this colour? What colour is it? And they shouted out orange. And I pointed to the other end of the flag. I said, you see that colour? What's that? They said green. And then I pointed to the middle. And I say, do you see this? What's this? And they all shout back white. And I said, all I see is red. At the time of the Bobby Sands hunger strike, people were throwing dollars up on the stage. There was shouts of up the IRA from the stage. We were an Irish band, and they thought we would fit into this version of Ireland and the revolution. Now I'm very clear on the way I feel about that. I would love to see United Ireland, but I'd never, ever could support any man that would put a gun to somebody else's head to see that dream come true. And we wrote Sunday Bloody Sunday in a rage. I just set out this story, broken bottles under children's feet, bodies strewn across a dead-end street. But I won't heed the battle call. It puts my back up against the wall. And the battle's just begun. There's many lost, but tell me who has won. The trenches dug within our hearts. Mothers, children, brothers, sisters torn apart. How long must we sing this song?
This is a song I hope one day never to have to sing again. I can't believe the news today. I can't close my eyes, make it go away. How long must we sing this song? How long? Tonight we can be as one. Tonight. Broken bottles on the children's feet, and bodies strewn across the dead street. But I won't heed the battle call. It puts my back up against the wall. And this battle's yet begun. There's many lost, but tell me who has won? The trenches dug within our hearts, and mothers, children, brothers, sisters torn apart. How long must we sing this song? How long?
to myself, maybe we did fail. Maybe the song Sunday Bloody Sunday is a failure. I've often thought that to myself, that we didn't succeed in making the point that we wanted to make, that it has been misinterpreted. And we've alienated the Republicans who wanted to use it as a battle cry, and we've alienated the Unionists who only see it as a slap in their face.
Rock music with a conscience has been striking a powerful chord ever since Bob Geldof's crusade to raise money for the famine victims of Africa. U2 have been in the forefront of this new wave, first with Live Aid and then Artists Against Apartheid. More recently, they led the Conspiracy of Hope tour of America in support of Amnesty International. Hundreds of thousands of young people flocked to these concerts and were urged from the stage to involve themselves in Amnesty's campaign for human rights. This year, U2 have turned their attention to the bitter conflicts of Central America. They've taken powerful songs condemning American policy in El Salvador to stadiums across Europe and America.
I was on my way to look at a little farm cooperative on the hills just outside San Salvador. And we walked into a kind of ambush. They were bombing a particular hillside we were walking on. They designate these areas fire zones, where they tell everyone in a particular area, a rebel sympathetic area, to just leave an area, and by a certain time, and then they just bomb that area. And I felt sick, really. I felt sick. And I tried to write Bullet the Blue Sky, one about just the fear I felt. I was trying to exercise the fear I felt on that moment. We tried to make the music, paint that picture. And when I got home, I said to Edge, I want you to put El Salvador through your amplifier. Yeah.
Write songs because suddenly it seems like a good idea to have one about El Salvador. It's because something hits you over the head, because you feel strongly about it, because there's pain about something in you, and a certain amount of it is, I think, sometimes an exorcism in a sense.
Comes up to me like all the colours of a royal flush. And he's peeling off those dollar bills, slapping them down. 100! Still 100! And I can see those fighter planes. I can see those fighter planes. And President Reagan comes up to me with his buddy, Mr. Gorbachev. And I can see those fighter planes. Across the mud huts where the children sleep, and through the valleys and the quiet city streets, we take the staircase to the first floor. We turn the key and slowly unlock the door. A man screams into a saxophone, and through the walls we hear the city groan. Outside it's America!
It shows the dark side of the world today. And I suppose there's a relevance to me as a missionary. I feel that I would want to be in the mud huts where the children sleep, to be along with them and to side with them as the helicopters and the planes go overhead, to be with them, to struggle with them, and to give them a sense of dignity.
On stage in Bullet the Blue Sky, there's a question at the end. I leave it as a question. And I start to paint the picture myself, and I say, see the sky cut open, see the rain pouring through a gaping wound, pelting the women and children, pelting the women and children who run into the arms. And then we just stop the song as we stop the record. And to have, and the audience go, America, and I just shine the spotlight on them.
Men waiting far too long in queues for their pocket money. I saw queues outside hospitals. I saw them closing up hospitals and throwing their beds out onto the street. And I saw the sky ripped open and the rain pelting through a gaping wound, pelting the women and children, pelting the women and children who run into a brick wall.
I'd like to think we scared the shit out of a few politicians, because there's an anger on the streets of this city and this country, of Ireland, and I want to be a part of that anger. And so, you know, the question is, how can I bite the hand that feeds? How can I bite the hand that feeds and makes me fat? Because I am in a rock and roll band that's on the world stage and have been given supposedly fame or fortune. But I think we should bite the hand that feeds.
You know, like the point about Dublin is, like, I mean, the band will be up there giving it plenty of this, and oh, geez, that's great, Bono, you know, that's great, you know, we're going to go out and chat, and then they go to the pub. And that's the lasting effect of a concert. It lasts all the way on the bus ride home. And you'll buy the record and you'll remember that great event, you know, that great celebration. And I don't think it goes beyond that, which is not in any way like to, you know, say that their music is not important. Or as a band, they're not important. They're radically important as a band.
Isn't there a danger in the end it's just hopeful music in a hopeless time? It gives people a sense of uplift, but doesn't actually direct them anywhere.
People said that before Live Aid. But Live Aid proved that music can unite people towards very specific ends, if called upon. I mean, music in the 60s surely contributed to the close down of the Vietnam War.
I think we write songs that we believe in. I don't think we're trying to create a movement or tell people what to think. I think if there's a message to you too, it's think for yourself.
I know that, and this is not to justify my position, because I don't have to justify my position on a political level, but Amnesty International has doubled their membership as a result of the conspiracy of Hope Tour in the US. That's real. You know, that's tangible evidence that the tide is turning in the United States.
I see that kind of concern coming in waves. I think that probably the early 80s was a particular low point, late 70s, early 80s, and Live Aid was the beginning of a kind of new awareness on that level. But I don't think it's unusual or a precedent. I think it's happened before and it'll happen again. It's just, this happens to be the awakening of some new kind of a feeling.
Why should that have come about? What's created that new?
Ley lines, I reckon. It's all Stonehenge, you know?